All right. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be. Welcome to another AP Studios show here on Wednesday. Every Wednesday at noon Eastern, we're going to go live. And then again on Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Hope you guys will jump in here. All right. Giving Vahography a little love in the background there. His interview with Omar, and he's been very active. A lot of videos coming out of Vahography. Hey, James. Hey, Roy. Good to see you guys back in here. Oh, a lot of things going on in the camera world this week. A lot of discussions about a lot of things. And one of the topics has been, as we've been talking about it, what's next from Nikon. Answered a lot of comments. Robert Magnuson, he keeps me on my toes. He keeps me straight. So answering a lot of his comments about things that I had said about when I think the next camera will come out and what it will be. So that's kind of the topic of this show today. And of course, anything you guys bring up and we want to talk about. Let's see. James tracking the UPS truck right now. He'll be here shortly. All right, brother, is that bringing the big Z9 or are you expecting something else? Hey, Ray. Yeah, Vahography's been busy. He just picked up a new toy. He decided to buy that 600 f4. Man, I'm envious. Oh, I love that lens. All right, James, Z9 time. All right, brother. So you're going to get the big beast to play with. You got glass ready to go, or what do you plan to shoot with the Z9? You know, today's the first day, honestly, in probably 3 weeks that it's decent outside. The sun's shining, the birds are out, which I haven't seen lately. And here I am in a live stream instead of sitting out there with the Z9 trying to get some photos to show you guys. Hey, Mike, good morning. Good afternoon. All right, we'll let a few more jump in here. So what have you guys been up to this week? Any camera news that you've gleaned from the interwebs or just word of mouth from other photographers or anything? Big news in the micro four thirds world. You got Olympus and Panasonic both coming out with new cameras. So that's going to add to the conversation today when we start talking about Nikon and its next entry into the camera world, because everybody's still harping on chip shortage, shipping, part shortages, and everything else. But it's awfully funny that camera makers keep announcing new cameras, yet, the focus is soft. Can't imagine that. Yeah, Olympus was bought out, but OMD Enterprise, I don't know what they call it now, but it's still holding the Olympus moniker for this camera, I guess. I have no idea why unless the camera's trying to track the face of Omar there. All right. So for those that are out there, the call line is up and running. And if anybody wants to call in, by all means do so. Anyway, that's in the hybrid market. It's really got quite a buzz going. The two new cameras, new technology supposedly. So we'll see what happens when it actually shows up. All right, thanks. Hello, Albert. And I appreciate all those that have commented after the last show and through the week. A lot of good conversations and comments. Talked to a few people. And again, back to, hey, Jesprit, good to see you too. What do you think of the new OMD wow camera. That's what Simon's calling it over at Ordinary Filmmaker. And both of those cameras, the Panasonic and the Olympus, are going to be announced here, one next week and the Panasonic the week after. So again, funny. Okay, Mike. Again, funny that there's still cameras coming out with all these shortages. So we're going to push that off to the side in our conversation today and quit worrying about the all the shortages and problems and labor problems or whatever people want to bring up, and just talk about the camera, that being Nikon's next entrant into the camera world. And Robert brought up some good points, kind of made me think about where Nikon needs to go. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. Specs look pretty good, Jaspreet. I mean, for 4/3 and everything else, it's, they've got some new secret sauce going on over there in their lab too. So supposedly, or well, by their statements, it's going to be not a game changer, but a definite upgrade to what was before. So let's see. Remember that you won't get the 400 2.8 TC, Jeffrey. 6 months if you haven't ordered it already. That is correct, but I don't think that's going to be as big a deal. And only Nikon gets beat up for not delivering on time. I mean, if you're another camera maker, you just announce it, produce it, deliver a couple, and then nobody's going to talk about or complain about the fact that you can't deliver it. Only Nikon, gets thrown into that boat. But on the 400, cameras produce them in large quantity. Yeah, I don't think that there's as big a call on the 400 2.8 TC. Those that want it have probably already jumped on it. There may be a few that are waiting to see more before they actually jump into the pre-order category. But again, it's just not going to be, I don't think there's going to be near as many people buying that lens, obviously, because of the price. But we'll see what happens. Good afternoon, Paul. Good to see you in here. James, Nikon is going to be in the catch-up. They're in catch-up right now, and they're going to be for a while. You're absolutely right. But you know what? Marketing is announcing, you know what? You can't deliver right away. Yeah, we'll all complain, but the fact is it's out there. The information's out there. The camera's out there. And that's what Nikon needs to be doing right now. Announcements by Canon, by Olympus or OMD or whatever they call it now, Panasonic, Sony, they just launched their A7 IV not long ago. I think that we're going to, we need to see Nikon get back in the game. All right. And what we need to talk about is, what do they need to get back in the game, and what do they need now, and what needs to be discussed and will come down the road. Robert brought up some good points on the consumer level cameras. I think Nikon's, they got a little start on that with the, the ZFC, with the Z50 and the Z5. So you've got some entry level at both the APS-C and full frame camera going with those models. And I know that there will be more, more. And as Robert brought up, those are the big sellers for Nikon or for any camera manufacturer. We've had the 3000 series, the 5000 series, the D610, the D750, all great cameras. And what's going to replace those? So while I agree with Robert, I think that we need a placeholder for people to feel comfortable buying into the brand. We've got the flagship. Yes, nobody's going to jump or not jump, but go with Nikon based on the flagship camera, the Z9. They will want to see more. They need the entry level camera and then aspire to higher level cameras up into the prosumer market. There are a lot of people that are waiting on the prosumer body to come out from Nikon. And that's what, I want to talk about today is what do we think it's going to be? Is it going to be a Z8? And what is the Z8 going to be? And when can we expect it? So again, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's catch up on everything going on in the chat. Mike, the Z9 has nothing to do with that next camera. If that was the case, then every manufacturer would only produce one camera every year or 2 years. They have the capacity, maybe not as much as Canon or Sony. I don't know, but maybe it's time they rent some industrial space and pick up the process and get back in the game. I don't think that's a problem for them either. You may be right, Mike, on the Z8. I feel like it will be this year. I think they need it to be this year. This is one of those things, it is a long race, no doubt about it. It takes time to move back into where you were, the place you were in. And this isn't about bragging rights for Nikon. It's about just the survivability of Nikon. I don't mean that they're going to go away, but I'd rather they not go into a niche brand because they have the technology. I know that they can ramp production up. They're discontinuing DSLRs. Well, what's that space going to be used for? So there is the ability to do it. I'm not buying for a minute that they can't. And I think that this is the year that they need to make sure that prosumer model gets out in the hands of the consumer, because that's what gives confidence to people that are going to buy into the brand. Us out here talking about it and trying to convince the new shooters that, oh, you need to go with Nikon, or, Nikon is a great brand and Nikon is a great camera, or any way that we're trying to market Nikon to the new shooters. They're looking at the lineup, and right now in the camera lineup, we have a glaring gap. And I know people will want to argue and say, no, we've got the Z7. The Z7 does not compare to the R5, A7S III, or the A7 IV. Those cameras have fantastic AF. And whether we like it, I'll say it again, whether we like it or not, AF is driving the train on marketing and sales, okay? Nikon needs cameras that have that AF capability, and we don't. We'll see what the Z7 II and Z6 II firmware does for us. I think that it will help, no doubt about that. But if it doesn't bring it up to that gap AF, the gap body, meaning the R5 type, A7S III, A7 IV, then it's not filling the gap, and that's what we need, okay? A lot of people are waiting for that camera too. D850 shooters, D750 shooters, all those folks that are getting ready to transition to mirrorless. Some won't for a while yet, but a lot are ready to do that. We need that prosumer body. And again, that instills confidence in anybody that's looking at this brand, buying into the entry level and working their way up. Whether they go up to a flagship or not, who knows? But that prosumer model has to be in place. We need it sooner rather than later. Nikon knows this. It's just a matter of whether they're going to do it or not. And I do believe we're going to see an announcement for that camera this year. I don't know when, but we're going to see an announcement for it. Rumors, I would expect, will begin here in the next 3 months. Hopefully we'll get a trickle of information talking about development of that next camera. So could be completely wrong. And if in the end I'll be the first to admit it. So that's my thoughts on it. Let's see what we got over here. Catch-up mode. We are, James, just as Mike said, we are going to be in the catch-up mode for a while, but that doesn't give Nikon a license to just sit back and do nothing. They're already developing that camera. There's no doubt about that. We know that. Yeah, Mike, on Nikon Rumors, Peter did mention the firmware updates for the Z6 and Z7 twos. Just not a firm date, but just the mention of it. He's got some information, I'm sure, over there. Peter does. He may not have a specific date or a super credible source, but we were told by Nikon that it would come here this year. So I would expect that that's not too far off in the future. That's, again, going to give us a pretty good idea of what to expect in the next camera bodies that come out. What I'm looking for in that is how much AF improvement can they make without that X-Speed 7 processor? And I think that they can. I don't think the processor is all AF. Well, we all know that. I think that it has a lot to do with the algorithms and the AI that's in the camera, which is something that was mentioned with the OMD WOW camera, that it's a new AI based algorithm for their AF, and they believe that it's going to be, fantastic or pretty daggone good with the new GH6. So, or WOW camera, or OMD1, or whatever they're calling it. Yeah, D500s are impossible to find. Obviously, since they discontinued, a lot of your loyal D500 shooters probably picked up new cameras because they were concerned that that would happen. How much space does that give Nikon for production of another camera? I don't know. We're not producing, 5,000 different point and shoots and all the different entry level cameras that we were before. We Nikon. I'm telling you right now, I know they have the ability to do it. It's just a matter of them communicating and letting us know that they're doing it. And Nikon is the worst at signaling anything coming down the road. So, yeah, not many can afford that 400 TC. You're absolutely right, Roy. Yeah, it'll be in short supply, but the demand won't be near as high. So, it's just one of those things. You have to be an early adopter and willing to pre-order if you want any of these new products right away. So that said, you've got, people still waiting on R3s, A7 4s, and R5s. The R5C, I don't know. Well, there you go. Canon announced the R5C. That's something that's in production and, deliverable. They didn't seem to worry about, well, there's going to be a chip shortage, so we'll just sit back and do nothing. They just plowed on, and, again, something Nikon can do as well. We need to get out of this boat of, well, giving them a pass on because we think that they can't get any parts, source anything, or move it. That's not the case. It may not be as fast as it once was, but the ability to do it is still there. Redesignated as an old camera. Yeah. Well, again, Mike, I disagree, buddy, but time will tell who's correct here. Z9, they're not a one body camera or company. If they can only build one body at a time, then Nikon is doomed. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. There is production capability. I know there is, and there's no excuse. Again, even if you can't deliver it as fast as everybody wants it, there's no excuses for not announcing, or at least a production announcement or development announcement, then an announcement this year for that body. Let's see. I have a D500. It is a great camera, but that's something else for the end of this. When we get down the road in this live stream, is talking is I'm now thinking about when do I begin to liquidate my F mount glass and my DSLRs. I know some people would say, "Oh, I'd never get rid of." Well, I'm one of those people, though. If I want something new, I've got to get rid of something old. So that's going to be a consideration for me here over the next month is when do I begin to liquidate? Jeffrey, I would agree, and I think that it will be. It has to compete again in that gap. Think about the R5. Think about the A7 IV. I know it's more expensive, but that doesn't mean Nikon has to go a price that high. I think it will be in the same price range of the D850, and we'll see whenever it's announced. Nikon should let Tamron make the FXZ lenses, but brand them as both Nikon and Tamron products. No, Nikon's not going to do that, Paul. Not at all. I know that everybody's a fan of the Tamron glass now. They have been for the last couple of years. But I don't want to see that. I want Nikon native glass. Nikon does it best. And, even if it is a little bit more expensive, that's okay. There are plenty of third market folks coming along now. So anybody that wants third market lenses or glass, they're going to be able to, they can find it now, and they're going to be able to find more of it here as we go down the road. Paul, why do you say Nikon can't compete with capacity of Canon or Sony? We have nothing. We have no facts, not one fact, period, to make that statement. All we know is Nikon downsized, and a lot of that was internal management. And so I think we're listening to influencers, and I refuse to do that. I'm not going to listen to the influencers. I don't buy for a minute that they have such low production capacity that they can't do any more than one body at a time, or even two bodies. All right. We'll see. We'll see what's coming up. The D500 was just discontinued. That doesn't mean they quit making it last week. It just means that their supply of that model has dwindled to a point where they have to make the continued announcement about it because they're soon to run out and there won't be any replacements. I know I talk in Kentucky, and I hope you guys can understand me. Let's see. Z8 will be dearer than that, Roy. I'm sorry. I'm missing the comment there. Nikon knows they need to put out a D500 replacement. Yep, James, you're absolutely right. Some of the Z9 tech, but in a good price point, and maybe DX. It will be DX. They're going to come up with they will probably, now this I'm guessing now will be over the next 24 to 36 months. A prosumer level crop sensor camera. I could be wrong. Maybe they're just going to get out of that whole prosumer market for APS-C. But I do believe, based on the success of the D500, and there's still people out there clamoring for a mirrorless replacement for that camera, I think it will come about. Could it happen before the full frame version? Yes. Who knows with Nikon, as silent as they are. But I do believe that it will come, but it's probably 24 to 36 months down the road. It should have came out with the Z9, just like they did with the D5, D500. So well, I say should have. Well, you know, I don't know. Maybe that would have hurt them. Maybe they weren't in a position because of other camera bodies still in production to do that. I don't know. Hey, good to see you, man. Todd, I'm glad you made it too, man. Let's see. Or the D850, you know. Make the Z8 a smaller version of the Z9, like the Z6, Z7 size points, but with the ability to connect to vertical battery grip. Yes, that's just the baseline right there, Paul. Okay, we got to go a lot deeper than that, but you're right. Somewhere you're in the ballpark for what that camera has to be. Bottom line is it has to be a slightly smaller D850, and then all internal with all the new tech that's come about with the development of the Z9. It won't be a baby Z9, although it will probably come close. And I made this prediction a week or so ago. I believe it will also bring some newer tech, that camera. They're not going to bring out, they just can't keep trailing. My point here is they can't say, well, we got to hold back because we've got the flagship. No, flagship's out there now. It's flying. Okay. If you've got new tech, then you need to put it in this camera as well. Will it be as when I say robust, I'm not talking about sturdy and everything, but will it be as have all the capability of the Z9? No, I don't think so. And it's not because they've got to save the Z9. They can't undercut the Z9. But there will be some limitations, and based on its size. Also, I think that there will be something new. It may be higher resolution EVF or LCD. I don't know, but we have to wait and see. But tech keeps moving forward, and Nikon can't hold tech back just because they have a camera out there, and this might compete with it. Two different price points. One isn't really going to compete with the other. If you want the full body Z9, you're going to buy that. If you don't have the money for that, then you're looking just like everybody did before. You had the D5 and you got a D850. I can't afford the D5. I'm buying the D850. It's the best of both worlds, price and capability. Not to mention that probably the best DSLR that was produced, the D850. That's what we should expect in the Z8 or whatever they're going to call it. You know, maybe they're going to hold Z8 for something else. So that niche, that gap, that point between the Z7 and the Z9 has to be a D850 type camera with new tech and grade AF. Now, talking about AF, Breyer found a site that was talking about, they rated the top 10 cameras for 2022. Nikon did not get a mention, not one mention. Even with the Z9 out and all the talk about the Z9 and what it does and how great a camera it is, not one mention in that article about the Z9 or Nikon, period. Nikon has to wrestle back all that marketing that we've lost over the years, and we've lost it because of the AF. So AF has to not trickle down. It needs to be in the next version of any consumer level camera because everybody else is doing that as well. It's just the way it is. So AF is the selling point. It is the marketing point from this point forward for right now. D750, D850, not transitioning anytime soon. Okay, Paul, and there's nothing wrong with that. And those cameras are going to serve you well for a good long time yet. Yeah, you don't shoot video. And even if you did, the D850 is no slouch with video. It's just a little more cumbersome than with the new hybrid mirrorless cameras. I know I've shot video with my D850. So Jeffrey, yeah, DX bodies in the past went full frame, D850 Z9, use DX mode on occasion. Let's see. If you want large prints, DX restricts you and you can't crop much for compositional elements, which is what we talked about the other day. The idea that buying a DX camera gives you more reach is not true at all. It helps you fill the frame, which gives the appearance of more reach. But you're absolutely right. With my D500, I'm limited on my cropping capability. So what do? We got a DX camera. We think we have more reach and we stretch that and don't fill the frame and then think I'll crop later. And then you go back later and find out that you don't have a lot of room to crop. So there you go. It's not really giving you more reach. But a lot of people do like the DX cameras. So the D500 was fantastic. I never bought a DX lens ever. I shot my full frame lenses on the D500. Yeah, 14K is a lot of money, no doubt about it. On the on that new lens, let's see. I might skip past some of these guys, get down here, kind of catch up. Yes, the next 400 on the roadmap should be affordable, a lot more affordable. And I agree. It probably will be a PF lens. Yes. That 800 PF is looking pretty tasty too. We'll have to see what happens there. Hey, Woody, glad to see you in here, buddy. I hope you're holding up well, and glad to see you're still kicking around, posting photos. God bless you, brother. Hang in there. Talking about the manufacturing, huh, Paul? Yeah, he is a bit closer. Yeah, rolling photographer. Talking about the warning for people wearing a pacemaker. Yet again, yet another thing that's gonna, I'm surprised that YouTube didn't light up with that. I mean, I don't know what problems it can cause or will cause or would cause or anything else, but any manufacturer that thinks there could be an issue is definitely going to put out it's a disclaimer, really. Hey, use it at your own risk. Yeah, Roy, you and me both, brother. I've got so much stuff, and it's not just cameras and lenses. There's other things that I need to actually get rid of that I'm not using anymore because I learned the hard lesson we all have to go through: buy cheap, buy again. And I still have some of that buy cheap stuff that's in great shape, only because I realized it and went out and bought quality grip and things like that. Light stands. Yeah, Paul. We were talking about it before Vahagan, but I was talking about it a while back, and I know Vahagan. He started talking about it. Getting rid of gear is just going to be one of those things. It's hard. It's really hard to let go of what you've accumulated over a few years or 10 years, and especially when you have a real love with your cameras and lenses, certain lenses. And I know he has lenses that he's not going to part with just yet. And I feel the same way, but I know that I need to get rid of a bunch of it. I'm not using it now. And if I pick up yet another mirrorless body, I don't even know why I have my DSLRs other than the fact that I love them and it's just hard to part with them. Yeah, James, you're absolutely right. Z lenses are going to be expensive for a long while, and they're going to be hard to come by. And that's another topic for a live stream is if somebody asked me that's talking about picking up photography right now, I would give them two roads that they could travel. One is go all DSLR. The other is go ahead and start into the mirrorless world. But you can have professional equipment on the DSLR F mount G lens side of the house at far less than we paid for it. I mean, you know, you can afford a professional level camera starting out almost for some people. You just have to put up with all the, you know, the weight. I mean, if you can't carry a wallet or, you know, heavy car keys or something like that, you may want to just go ahead and go into mirrorless, although that's not going to be as light as you think it is. But my point is that there are going to be some exceptional buys on equipment. And you've seen that if you watched Vahagan's latest video talking about his 600 f4. He got a steal on that lens. And again, I'm very envious. I would love to have that lens. So yeah, those deals are going to be out there. Now, those deals are to be had for us as well. Those that are the people that are selling those long tele lenses that are in great shape know that Z9 owners, those that have picked up the Z9, and again, the prosumer body, when it comes out, those lenses are still relevant for the mirrorless shooters. So the people that are getting rid of them, I'm guessing, are getting rid of them because they're buying into the longer tele photo lenses in the Z mount. It could be that somebody, the guy that Vahagan dealt with, it could be that he's like me. Hey, I want that 400 TC 2.8, and the only way I'm going to get it is to sell my beautiful 600 f4. That might not be the case, but it could be. Or they just want to buy other equipment and they have to let go of the old. So those deals are going to be out there. I haven't even looked at eBay lately, but within the next year, eBay is going to be flooded with. And it's not just Nikon glass, you know, Canon and everybody else as well. Well, other than Sony, because, well, we know the deal there. Let's see, beat up constantly about when it's available. You know, Jeffrey, you're right. But you know what? Thinking about this, I'd rather be complaining that it hasn't shipped yet than sitting out here wondering what's coming or what's next or whatever. And let's face it, right now, there's no way to catch up so that you can flood the market after announcement so that everybody that wants it gets it. So I think it best now and to signal to those that are looking at Nikon, to signal to them that Nikon is continuing to produce, it's coming, it's out there, and give them confidence in their choice to go with Nikon. Yes, Albert, they have to capitalize on the success of the Z9 because that will fade. And if I don't mind saying right now, I think we've peaked. We've hit the apex with the Z9, and now we're going over the other side. It depends on how fast we go downhill off the apex. But I think that they needed the Z9 to, you know, spark the fire and then throw gas on it with that Z8 or that prosumer body. I agree with you. Yeah, Z glass is very good. The 2875 Nikkor is made by Tamron. No, I think it's made by Nikon, Roy. But it's based on Tamron. I don't know who makes the glass. That's the big discussion right now. But I wouldn't say Tamron makes it just yet. I don't think that's the case either. It's turning out to be a pretty daggone good lens. It's not quite the 24 to 70 2.8Z, but it's still a great lens for the money. I saw Taylor Jackson do a review of it, a quick review of it. He seemed to like the lens. He didn't like that he lost the 4mm on the wide end, but he liked the idea that you gained 5mm on the telephoto end or the long end. But I don't think there's enough negatives there to warrant anybody turning away from that lens. If you want that focal length, then and in 2.8, a wider aperture, then that's a pretty good buy on that lens. I wasn't convinced when they announced it, when they talked about it, but looking at some of the reviews, and we can't compare it to the 24 to 70 2.8. But it looks like it's a great lens all around, especially for the money. I haven't heard anything, but I haven't watched the Olympics this year. I mean, I have my own reasons, but I haven't watched the Olympics. I just can't see supporting a country that sent COVID to us. Sorry, don't want to get political. But anyway, I haven't been watching, so I don't know what has been visible as far as photographers go. There we go. There we go, Paul. You just wanted to yank my chain, man. Wants and needs. Yeah. If you have the money, then want all you want and get what you want. If you don't, then you have to go back to, what do I really need? I mean, there it is in a nutshell. But don't ever try to justify what you need. If you have the money and you want it, then get it. Life's short, folks. And if you say, well, I really need, well, then you don't go with want. If you need the money to buy a new car, then buy the new car. I'm never going to tell people, hey, skip what you need to buy what you want. But I get tired of people that want to immediately take me to task on, do you need it? I'm a big boy. I know whether I can afford it. I don't need somebody as a financial advisor. If I want it, I'm going to get it if I can afford it. Okay. Hence, I have to sell sometimes to buy new. All right. Yeah, there's a lot of people, Ray, that have been, I think, surprised at how well the F-glass does work on the Z mount and Z cameras. That 500 PF, that's a workhorse now. It may not have been before, but it is now. How many photos do you see on the internet, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere, taken with the Z9 and the 500 PF? That lens is getting a workout now on the Z9, and it's spectacular. One of the things that Bayou Josh brought up is, I mean, I think, and he can correct me. He'll correct me later if he's not able to listen now. The biggest problem he has with the 600 F4 is the size and the weight. And I understand that it is a lot to lug around, no doubt about that. But other than that, I think he was happy with that lens as far as what it produces. Now, that 400 2.8 TC, so that's going to give him 400 out to almost 600, 560 millimeter. And it's all native, and it's lighter and more compact. I can understand why he would want that over the 600 F4. And again, it's one of those things. If you can afford it, get it. No doubt about it. Me, I can't. I won't anytime soon. But I'd still love to have a 600 F4. And I don't plan on humping it around around the mountains. But I have a tripod ready to go for it and a gimbal mount. And I just want to travel, walk somewhere comfortably, sit down and enjoy that lens. So, yeah. Yeah, Roy, everybody out there was anti Nikon, and some of that has changed recently with the announcement and the delivery of the Z9. But it still permeates the photography world right now. Nikon is just not seen as a viable candidate for purchase. And you know why? AF, period. I'll tell you right now, it's AF. Which is why even the entry-level cameras have to come with that AF capability. There's no way around it anymore. And I think we're at a point now where the technology, Nikon's grasped the technology as well. And I think it's going to be, it is easier for them to do, which is why I'm a bit excited about the Z6 II firmware update. You know, I'm really excited to see that come out. And I want to see how much they were able to do with dual XSpeed 6 processors, knowing that the XSpeed 7 is 10 to 12 times faster. But if they can pull that off, then that gives us a hint that, hey, this isn't all processing power. It's the AI and the algorithm writing. So we'll see. Paul, you've been to the facilities in Vietnam. Okay. Yeah, well, there you have it, Paul. And again, I believe that Nikon has the ability. It's just typical Nikon. They're just going to hide everything from us. And I don't know why they, maybe we should, the next time they announce something, go, okay, instead of cheering and praising Nikon, you know, just to show them, well, it's what you're telling us you did what you should do. Okay. Uh, 24 to 120, David, and good to see you in here, man. Yeah, Taylor Jackson talking about all the 24s with the 28 being the exception, but in that same focal range, said that out of all of them, even the 2.8, 24 to 70, 2.8, he said he pretty much prefers that 24 to 120. I think Jerry Guionis made a comment about that as well. That 24 to 120 is a hit, no doubt about it. You're not hearing a lot about it, but it seems like everybody, when you hear something, it's all good. And the reason I say it's a hit is because people are talking about, I prefer that over the 28 or 27, 24 to 70, 2.8. So good lens. And I agonized a little bit over whether I should have gone with that or the 1 to 400. Initially. Let's see. I'm catching up now, Paul. I'm so far behind on comments. Let's see. Well, okay. You know, what is the manufacturing capacity of Sony? Anybody know that? Since Sony just started building cameras, 10 years ago? And it's a small, little tiny piece of Sony, right? You guys know that, right? It's not like the Sony Corporation is, you know, cameras. It is a small piece. Whereas Canon, we can say that they're diversified, yeah, but nothing like the Sony Corporation. Okay, and how much capacity does Sony optical camera division have? I don't know, and that's what I'm saying. Is we get caught up in these conversations and listen to some of these fools, if you will, influencers, and they just make stuff up, and you know. It takes something at face value and blow it out of proportion. I don't know. I don't know what Sony's manufacturing capability is, but I don't think it's so much greater than Nikon, and neither is Canon. You know, being diverse in products doesn't mean that you have your segment for cameras is larger than everybody else's. So I don't know. I wish I did. And we never get anybody that discusses that stuff, that knows where to research to come up with, square footage of production facilities or whatever. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but my point is, I think we just get caught up in the conversations of others, just like everybody got caught up in Nikon's going away. It's done. It's gone. It's history. Just a year and a half ago, even Simon over on Ordinary Filmmaker was talking about that because he got caught up in it. Hey, fail to mention Nikon because I don't think they're going to be around much longer. So where does all that come from? My point again is, though, don't trust all that stuff that you hear. And think about it. Is it really, is their manufacturing so small that they can't, produce more? I just don't believe it. And we'll find out. We'll find out. But the problem with Nikon is that they just don't communicate very well, and their marketing's terrible. How many times we got to say that, Nikon? Come on, guys, get with it. So yeah, Paul, I know you didn't mean that. They're a one-trick pony. But I don't think that their manufacturing is so small that it doesn't compete with Canon and Sony. I wish we could find some figures that would show us, because Sony's not delivering everything they've announced, and neither is Canon. But they're not the whipping post, but Nikon will be, because one, we beat Nikon to death over it and make it, throw it out into public that Nikon's can't deliver and whatever. Well, the others aren't doing it either. But again, I go back to, I'd rather have it announced and initially delivered and then have supply issues. Okay. Because it just makes for a stronger company when you know what they've got. You know exactly what exists. Right now, I can't sell anybody on Nikon because we don't know what exists. So I'm back to being a marketer for Nikon. But all right, I'll get off my high horse for a minute here. I'm going to jump all the way to the bottom. So if I miss other comments, I'm just trying to keep up with you guys, which is impossible because you guys have some great comments in here. James, I saw congrats, James. Does that mean that, hey, Vahography, what you doing, Vahagan? Glad to see you in here. I thought maybe you had announced that you got, yeah, how you like that video playing back there, Vahagan? I said I'm going to give you some love today, man. Give you some more views running in the background there. All right, back. Oh. Doorbell. Be right back. Okay, now I'm looking for James. I just said LOV. James, did it arrive, man? Going to the bottom. Bottom of the message pile or the comments pile. I love you guys. You keep me straight. Bayou Josh in here too. See how far back I am? He did. Look at Bayou Josh. Man, I missed all this by being so far behind. It is a great group of folks, isn't it, James? Let's see. Yeah. You know what, Paul, your comment there about people seeing Nikon as a prestige brand. Yeah, I think that happens a lot of places except for America. I know Stu just launched a video I saw. He's at work, I guess. Oh man, I'm gonna keep harping on stuff, as you guys know, man. I'm a proponent for Nikon, but I will be critical about Nikon, no doubt about it. I love their products. I just don't know about their management. Oh. I wouldn't doubt Sony comes out with something here soon, an update, a development announcement or something, a rumor or something about their update to the A1. I think that they have the rest of the models in the lineup. Uh, the next, excuse me, next big update has to be with the A1. All right, Josh, thanks for dropping by, buddy. Let's see. David, good to see you in here. Hey, take it easy at work. Thanks for dropping by. James, the Z9 is incredible. So you did your box opening? Feels good in the hand, doesn't it, brother? It really does. Especially if you've ever shot with a flagship camera. Stu's catching bad guys. Yeah, he's out on the prowl, doing his job out there. Let's see. Now that's something we hadn't even discussed, Roy, and you're right. The R1 is a big deal, and there's no doubt in my mind that the R1 is going to be a fantastic camera. I say that as a Z9 owner. Yeah, Paul. There are a lot of places, but they're producing on a level that's far more than camera manufacturers right now. Oh, let's see. First flagship. All right, buddy. So get the battery in that thing. I'm not saying turn it on, but hold it and tell me, is it too heavy? Is it going to kill you? Are you going to be able to carry it all day long? Because, that's the big complaint about flagship full size bodies. Yeah, good. Yeah, man. Yeah, all I do is I just hang around long enough and people show up and talk. But yeah, some pretty big names in the YouTube world. At least for us, that's for certain. Roy, you gave your daughter she confiscated your D5. Okay. Now, there you go. There's a picture. His daughter using a D5, and we have men that are whining about, well, if I carry this all day long in a wedding, my shoulders kill me and I die and I go home and I have to have oh, man. Roy, tell your daughter I'm proud of her. You need to take a picture of her with that camera using it and pass it around. Maybe some of the men that whine about their, backs hurting would realize that they just need to bulk up a little bit. Yeah, Jeffrey, absolutely. Talking to James there, I still have a long way to go to get mine set up the way I want it. But you know what? I'm in no hurry to do it. I'm going to continue to play with it until I have it the way I want. And even then, I think it will be something that changes continuously. But this is a camera, especially with all of the autofocus modes, that you just don't pick it up out of the box and it's providing magic. You have to sit down and play with it for a few minutes. No doubt about that. I agree, Roy, 100%. It feels balanced. I like that it's just a bit lighter than my D5 was. And just a tiny bit smaller. It's actually, as a lot of people have said, it's perfect. Now that Some may not feel that way. You want to see me and Frames do a show? You know, we had something working, and then all of a sudden I don't know, he just didn't respond anymore. So I don't know what happened, but I wasn't going to badger him or anything. You know, you never know. People might have personal issues going on and stuff, and you don't want to badger them. So I just let it drop, Vahagan, and I figured he'll come around whenever he, takes care of whatever the issue was. Mosman, I don't know, man. I agree with you. How do people get through life if they can't hold a Z9 for a few hours? But I hear these people talking, their backs hurt so much after a day of shooting and their shoulders. And this isn't bragging or anything, but maybe it's because I've carried my body weight on my back for days on end, and a 12-pound weapon in my hand as I carried my body weight on my back. And again, I'm not saying it to brag, but maybe I should ease up on some of these people, because it's actually not a physical thing as much as it is a mental thing. But I've carried my cameras. I shared a photo over on Nikon Amateurs group where I forgot my double strap and had two straps cross slung over my shoulders, carrying D5, D850 with the 80 to 400, and I think it was a 24 to 70 all day long. And yeah, I mean, you can feel it, but I didn't go to my wife at the end of the day and say, I'm almost dead. You're going to take me to the hospital. I need some muscle relaxers. No, it wasn't quite that bad. So yeah, Mosman, I don't know, but I can't say anything about it anymore because people get mad when I touch on that subject. They don't like to be told they're weak-minded. Yeah, you won't have any trouble with it, James. Z6 really a bit smaller is too for me. I really like the feel of a flagship body. Yeah, Mike, I agree with you. I do too. Vaughan, next week, you and me. All right, buddy. Yeah, I just wanted to hit the 500 mark so I can actually use the cards thing in YouTube and whatever. So I'm having fun. I'm having fun, man. I'm having fun. I check the subscribers every couple of days, and it goes up a few, and then it comes down a few. So I don't know if that's common, but I just assume that it's people that get tired of hearing me yap, so they decide they don't want to be subscribed anymore. Yeah, Roy, weight does help in the stability, especially in the long lenses. I agree. It balances better. I agree. 20% lighter than the D5. Batteries on the charger, James. Good. You're really going to be happy with one aspect of a flagship camera. That battery is going to last you forever compared to what you've been used to. That's just one of the benefits of the flagships too. Z8 needs to be slightly bigger than Z6 II to handle overheating. Nikon to drop two camera at once, a 50-60 megapixel mirrorless successor to the D850, and 30 to 35 megapixel photo video hybrid, fast scan rate, frames per second. All right. Yeah, Jaspreet, I think that'd be great if they would do that. Right now, I just want to see them fill that gap. We need the R5 competitor, the A7S3 competitor, and A7 IV competitor. Even though I know the A7 IV's had a couple of little bumps or something, I've heard a couple of the folks I follow that are Sony shooters, and one guy just said, "I'm not buying the Z7 IV. Z7S3 is a better camera in his opinion." Blah blah blah. But what's the one thing common across the board? Those cameras, AF. All right. So if the Z7 II and Z6 II firmware update brings them up to that level, I'll be happy. Then I can sit back and and let Nikon coast a little bit. Okay. But we need that competitor. I don't even know if the Z6 and Z7 monikers are going to be something they want to hang on to forever, because too much negativity in the beginning with the first version, and hadn't gained a lot of popularity other than within the Nikon camp. So it might be one of those things that they even decide to get rid of that moniker, that name. And I don't know where they go from here. Kind of painted themselves into a quarter with this new naming convention. Tell them work out more season. Yeah, I have, and it doesn't go over well over in the forums. They don't like being told they're weak, and they act as if I've never carried a camera, so I really don't know. Yeah, there you go, Paul. There's a basic load for you. Yes, it does solve the mirrorless battery problem, Roy. Yeah, Jesprit, it's anybody's guess, actually, I guess. But my prediction is we're going to see that prosumer body this year. The only thing that I think would change that, and I keep saying it, is wait to see what the firmware update does with the Z672s. All right, Jeffrey. So I'm not picking on people like you that actually have issues, okay? I'm talking about they can go to the gym 5 times a week, but they can't carry a camera all day long. Those are the people I'm talking about. No, I agree, Roy. It's not the D850 replacement. You're absolutely right. And I don't think Nikon ever considered it the replacement. However, it kind of picked up that, initially picked up that moniker that it was the replacement for the D850, but it isn't. Now you're talking crazy talk, Jesprit. Take the innards out of a Z9 and put it in a Komodo style cine body. Who knows, all the cinema stuff that you and I've talked about, and we've talked about in some of the other shows. I think that Nikon will venture into something like that down the road. I really do. They've got to get caught up with the hybrid market right now, though. And I had a discussion. Who did I have the discussion with the medium format? I know that Matt Irwin's been all over that for the longest time. Nikon producing a medium format camera with a Z mount because it should fit. I don't know if we'll see that anytime soon, but I don't know who I was talking to recently, but he's right. There is market to be had because Fuji seems to be doing okay with their more or less expensive version of the medium format. So it is a possibility. It is a possibility, but I don't think it's anytime soon. Older dudes should remember being in the gym. Here's Robert here. D3 back in the day, wrist curls, do supinated, pronated, and unilateral wrist curls. Well, there you go. It's a good advice, Robert. So if you're having any problems, then here you go. Robert's got a workout plan that he's used. I'm a fitness model, not. My wife does complain that I can eat anything I want and don't gain a pound. I don't know if that's good or not, really. Thanks, Robert. You know what? I'm gonna give that a try. We got Vahagan right below you, who is, everybody applaud Vahagan for his, he's sticking to his fitness plan, his diet and everything else, and really proud of you, Vahagan. You had a weak week, got it, but you didn't get down on yourself. And I left you a comment stating that, and really happy to see you sticking to that, and the fact that you feel better. Good on you, buddy. Good on you. Inspiration for a lot of people there. Can use the D4 battery with the Z9? Yes, you can, Vahagan. The A, B, and C will work with the Z9. I'm having a problem with my A version of the battery. I'll charge it to 100%, even though it says it's charged to 100%. I can put it in the Z9 and it'll tell me anywhere from 48 to 68%. It varies every time. I can put it in the battery grip on my D850, the same battery that is, and it'll tell me it's at 98%. So I don't know what's going on there, but the B model is fine. It works. It charges up to 100% on the charger, and I put it in the Z9 and it'll tell me 98% as well. But I just think that's the age of the battery. Yeah, D600 had a very rocky start, didn't it? And it's a shame because once they took care of that with the D610, everybody talked real well. Those that bought it, I just think that it scared people to not buy it. But those that owned it, everybody talked well about how good that camera was. Somebody told me, what did they tell me about the 18C, Roy? Something about the 18C. You could charge it in the new battery charger. I think, I don't know. I wouldn't tell anybody to test that, but I know that the 18C, oh, here we go. Jeffrey's on it. Use any of the man, Jeffrey, I need you to stick around, buddy. You need to move up here by me and be in the studio because you are the answer man. Not making fun of you either. I mean, you have done your due diligence on the manual and everything else. Yeah, C and D can be charged in camera. Well, you knew that before I said it because I'm so far behind. Yeah, Hassan, it's going to be interesting. Stack sensors, possible dual processors. I've heard rumors of time of flight AF. There was one mentioned by them about the AI and new algorithm for their AF, which has me thinking that maybe it's not as processor dependent as we thought, and the firmware updates on the Z62, Z72 might be very interesting for us. Not a problem, Osman. Not a problem here. Not getting oiled up. I'm way past the oiled up, whatever it is, swimsuit days. Yeah, Vaughan, with that purchase, that lens, you're right, man. It could have been a celebration day. Mike does arm curls 12 ounces at a time, and the weight gets lighter as you do them, doesn't it? It's amazing. Trying to catch up again. You guys dropping the comments here. Oh, you too, Robert. Good on you, man. Good on you. Back in the fitness mode. And you guys are gonna shame me into having to go out and run or something again. I don't want to. Yeah, Roy, the Z6, I heard I have it in this camera, but you know what? I did the update and it just sits here in front of me for the for the live stream. So I don't even know how good it is. Charles, hello, buddy. Good to see you. Robert, that new lens, have you jonesing for it? That 400 2.8 TC is a beautiful lens, it looks like. And you know, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be spectacular because everything they've developed so far in the lens lineup has been spectacular. Yeah, Mosman, I agree. And that's what I'm waiting to see. So, did Nikon just finally crack the code on AI and algorithm for AF? And if that's the case, it should have improved even from the Z9. So, let's hope that it brings magic to the Z6 II and the Z7 II. And then we know that it can be replicated in all the new models that come out. Even the consumer models need to have great AF in them. So, yeah, they are good, James. A lot of people just out of, I don't know, whatever, other brand shooters won't acknowledge Nikon's Z glass. Not all, but a lot of them won't. And if I remember correctly, when Jared first tested the Nikon Z7, and I don't know which lenses it was, the 24 to 70 f4, and he called it a kit lens. He wasn't buying, you know, who wants a kit lens and yada, yada, yada. So nobody really looked at its capability or anything else. And to this day, because of the influencers, maybe, you know, nobody gives Nikon a glance when it comes to glass, which is a big mistake on their part. Voila Jones. uh, is Jaspreet, is that in their uh, medical division, robotic arm, or is that just part of their robotics division for whatever? Yeah, Becky and Con in the background. We even got frames in there too. And Vahagan. You just can't see all them. Giving you love, Vahagan, man. Giving you some airtime. Let's see. I didn't know that, Mosman. I don't remember that article or that or whatever, that information. Working on algorithm using athletes. Well, hopefully now they have the code or again, the secret sauce in the algorithm development and maybe some more AI. And if the Z6 II and Z7 II improve, I mean, surprising results, then yeah, Nikon gets a breather. Yep, I agree. I agree, Jesper. Let's hope that that's what we see is a considerable improvement on the AF in both those cameras. Because then, man, we know we got a lot to look forward to in new cameras that come out as well. George Robinson, welcome, sir. Happy with the Z lenses. Stay only with S-line lenses, though. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what the S is really going to indicate to us. The only thing that I saw different between S and other Z glass was the aperture. Until the 28 to 75 2.8 came out, and then there you can definitely see. Well, I say that I can't. I shouldn't say that. I'm just going by what a couple of the reviewers have found with the 28 to 75. Not quite as sharp as the 24 to 70, and surprisingly, the 24 to 70 f4. Charles, voila. Nikon's robot stuff is in their pro video division. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, let's see. I have the 14 to 30, which is what I'm shooting on right now, Vahagen. It's the 14 to 30 on the Z6. And even if the 14 to 24 is even considerably better, I don't use this focal range enough to warrant buying the 14 to 24 because I bought that in F mount, the 14 to 24. I have the Trinity, and I found I very rarely use the lens. Yeah, it was fun for a few things that I did, especially in event photography, cars and motorcycles. But I can't warrant buying it in the S mount. I'm not saying anybody else should feel the same way. I'm sure it's a fantastic lens, but the 14 to 30 is fine for what I need. Ultra wide to whatever lens, ultra wide to wide. Uh, all right, Jesprit. So you guys that have come across this, I'd like to see some of that. We need to post these locations of this information, Nikon's technology and robotics, and so on and so forth. Yeah, Vagan needs the love. James, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think he'd be surprised if we all just showed up, said we went one in on his photo walk and everything else. Let's see, Mosman. They had to hire athletes due to the COVID. Okay, they weren't getting the opportunities to test in real work scenarios. Okay. Charles, I don't think you'll be. I don't think you'll be disappointed with that 14 to 30. It's tack sharp. It controls distortion well. Yeah. I mean, it's not perfect, but the cost and the focal range on it, man, I likes it. And George comes back with a counteroffer. 1424 is sharp edge to edge. Yeah. I don't doubt that a bit. I just personally didn't have a need for that. I guess if you're shooting landscapes with it, but even landscapes, well, I don't know. Help you out, Mike. Yeah, the next update's the big one. It's the 2.0, I believe, Mike. The next update for the Z62, Z72 is definitely the one that's going to deal with AF. Big expectations for it. We'll see what happens, but I think that I'm feeling better about the AF in this firmware update. I think Nikon's got it sorted out, so we'll see. I don't think it's going to be too far off because Peter, I think, may have some information. I don't know. He didn't say that, but he did bring it up over on Nikon Rumors in the latest post. Not just that, a few other things, but he did bring up the Z62, Z72 firmware. Hey, Robert, that's interesting. Something special on the horizon. Yeah, that's good. You know, Nikon could use something special now. It really could. James talking about the 1424 being crazy good as well. So I'm just catching up, guys. I know I need to move quicker. Yeah, Vaughan, you definitely need a good sturdy set of sticks, and there's a lot of discussion about what type head, but you can't go wrong. Yeah, it's a niche head for big lenses, big bulky lenses. That being a gimbal head, but you get a gimbal head, good gimbal head, and there are a lot of them on the market. It doesn't have to be Wimberley. I have a Wimberley. It's heavier, and it's fantastic, but it costs more. But my point is, you get a good gimbal head, a good set of sticks to hold it all up. When you get out there and you have that gimbal set up right, it's just a pleasure shooting on that setup. Once the lens and body, camera body are balanced, it's just a pleasure. It takes all the work and effort out of actually shooting. James can't put the Z9 down. I know how you feel, man. We all felt that way. You don't have to tell us tomorrow whether you did or didn't, because we didn't tell anybody either the fact that we slept with our camera that night. I don't know, Vahagan, about Nikon. I hadn't heard them bailing out of Vegas, WPPI, but it wouldn't surprise me because they are definitely afraid of COVID. Robert, which link was it? Because it didn't show up in the comment. It could be one of the restrictions on the comments. I don't know. I'll have to review or find out. I don't know the links will actually show up in the comments. Robert, or anybody, if you guys have links to anything, as soon as this rolls over on YouTube into a video, obviously you can comment there and drop links there if you like. And let's see, 12. Very light, yeah. Only Sony had a booth in the list you saw, huh? Okay. That's at WPPI, folks, out in Las Vegas. I would like to go because there's so many people you'd like to meet, and it's always fun to walk around looking at gear, and see some of the demos and things like that. One of these years, I'm going to get there. What is it they used to do down here in New York City before COVID and all that? I can't remember the show, but I'm only an hour away from it, and every year I would say I'm going to go, and never did. Uh, so Charles, you say you only have two full frame lenses. Is that in the Z mount? Because you're going to be surprised if you bought the FTZ. You're going to be surprised at how well some of the F glass works. Booth 2115, Mosman says, at WPPI, Nikon. 40 by 30 booth. Yeah, that's a large booth. They're going to have the new Z8 there on display in a glass case. Jesspreet, nice comment. I'm going to throw it up here for everybody to see. Tico Raw is the big way ahead for, I think, Nikon and probably everybody else in the, down the road. Bigger booth than Sony. Whoa. Well, Sony cameras are smaller, so they don't take up as much room. Bad joke. I know. Bad joke. Got to sleep with it, man. If I got that 200 or 600 F4, yeah, that baby'd be right at the foot of my bed at least. Ike, good to see you, buddy. Yep, James was talking about you. Good, man. Fill his ear full, buddy. Screaming down the list here. Ike shows up and comments go through the roof. Yeah, you know what? Ike, Jaspreet's all over it, man. And I know you will. Tell him to hire some people in there that actually live in the real world and know what people want. Okay, got it, Robert. Thanks, man. MRM OCO. Got it. Jeffrey, which filters are you talking about? $600. Yes, Roy, they do. So they weren't kidding when they talked early on with the development of the mirrorless, the FTZ. They weren't lying. It does. It's just a pass through. Yes, Vaughan. Mike is absolutely right. I got a super deal on mine watching eBay, and I got the tripod and the head or the Wimberley head for $800. That sounds like a lot of money, but buy them new. Oh, oh man. You guys have me interested in all your comments. I'm trying to keep up. One of these times, I'm just going to bring everybody in as a guest, and we'll all just sit here and yak and talk over each other. And then I don't have to read comments all day long. Now, envious, all you guys are going to wind up out at WPPI. One of these years, we'll all have to try to get out there together or somewhere, one of these shows. Oh, finally, the bottom. Yeah, I know I do. I know I do. Like, every year there's something else, you know. I know that's an excuse as well. Why let life get in the way of fun, right? But it will happen. I'm caught up in all the comments. Take the wife for a vacation. Yeah, we are going to do a vacation, but believe it or not, um, my wife, being the beautiful Latina chica, she wants to go down to Miami. I don't know if I can argue with that, man. That's got some fantastic photo ops. So yeah, I did. Throw it up here real quick, Robert. I did, and that's where I was talking about the difference between the three being similar photo or focal lengths. All three are good. Um, he's obviously the 28 to 75 isn't quite as good as the 24 to 70 2.8, but still. Yes, the 24 to 120 is the lens. And I was saying that earlier that it seems to be a big hit. A lot of people love that lens. Just that extra focal length, you know, out to 120. I have the F mount version of that, the 24 to 120G. And I got to tell you, it's a good lens, but it's got a big problem with lens creep on it. Mm. Drum solo. All right, folks, you guys carry on for a minute. I got to run to the little boy's room and move something for mama. Z9C would actually be amazing. Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Check, 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 check. All right, be right back. Sorry about that. I had to stop and look at the birds. First day to actually get out and shoot. Oh, might have to do that as soon as we finish. Okay. Yeah, a lot of cameras coming about. So, there is a chip shortage. Excuse me. There is a chip shortage, but I don't know if it's enough to prevent the camera makers from producing cameras. James, I wish I could tell you that that's the case, but if you've been shooting with your Z6 a lot, then yeah, that's definitely going to help you with the Z9. But the Z9 is its own animal, and there's just so much to sit down and go through in that camera. But I hope you get it set up the way you want it quick. Ah, Roy, rub it in, man. Rub it in. Well, there's the problem, Mosman. You're absolutely right. It's not the cool brand with young people, and that's why I've asked over and over and over to get some young folks to come in here, and I'd love to put them on the show and talk about why they chose Nikon, or even if they're not a Nikon shooter, why they didn't choose Nikon. That's the market that Nikon needs to tap into. They tried when they came out with the Z50, if you remember. I don't know, James, if they've ever done anything to canvass the market to see what people think or what they want or whatever. But you're absolutely right. They are isolated. I mean, look right now, how much information's coming out of Nikon? Yeah, you're right, Ike. But they've I will give them credit. They've really pumped the lenses out this year, or well, last year. Um, and they're catching up pretty quick on their roadmap. And now, of course, you got people talking about other lenses that they want. Albert, you down in the city, man? We ain't too far apart. Well, Hassan, I'll disagree. I think Nikon needs that prosumer level camera to fill that gap. However, if the firmware for the Z6 II and Z7 II is on par with, the AF that you see, or even close, the AF that you see in the R5 and A7S3 and such, I think that's going to do a lot to push Nikon back into the party. Down in Queens, Albert. Okay, so my stepson's a firefighter down in Yonkers, and my wife is a New York City gal, and I'm in Connecticut, up here near Danbury. We should get together. We should figure out a way to make that happen. Yeah, Ike, and Robert, he kind of brought me back to reality. Robert Magnuson, he comments on a lot of the live streams after the fact, and he's right. We had the D3000 series, the 5000 series, 7000 series, and so on and so forth. And he kind of made me think that even though Nikon is now beginning to fill out that consumer level niche down there, it's not quite enough. So you're absolutely right. I think that, from a marketing standpoint, again, I think that you have to have that prosumer level camera, because everybody's going to aspire to a more professional camera, and prosumer is probably where they're looking at. They're not really looking at the flagship. Flagship kind of sets the tone, lets everybody know that you can go all the way to the top if you want, but you need to know that you're going to have a place to move to, and the sooner they get that in position, the more confident people will be to invest in new shooters. That is, invest in the Nikon brand. So, yeah, they got a lot of work ahead of them, and who knows what the best next move will be. But I still go back to, I think that this year we're going to see a prosumer level camera, that Z8 level camera. Now, they may fool us and may give us an R3 like camera in that spot. Who knows what Nikon's going to do? Hey, Ike, here's something else. And I know it's like old technology, trying to sell a used car or something. But for those that are getting into photography, man, now is a great time. If you don't want to jump immediately into new technology, the mirrorless cameras, there are going to be some great camera bodies on the market here very soon, and great glass, because as people begin to migrate over to mirrorless, you're going to find D800s, D810s, D850s, D4s, D4S, D5s, and a little further down the road, D6s even, and they're going to be at a great price. So you can jump into the market reasonably and have a much better camera if you're willing to go the DSLR route first. Yeah, Roy. And I'm on, they come out with a prosumer body, and I'm going to tell you right now, if it's in that $3,500 ish price range, it's going to be tugging at me too. And I think that I'd be set for a while, just like I was with the D850 and the D5. I'll be set for a while. But going back to Ike's point, yeah, then I think we've got to fill out that the consumer level or tier of cameras. But those cameras have to come with that AF in it. And yeah, I know they will. They have to. But the question is then when will we see those begin to develop? Will there be an update to the Z50? Will the price go down on the Z50? I agree with you. You're going to bring all that up, I know, with that representative. And these are the things, I don't expect them to give you any answers, because they're all forbidden for speaking about what Nikon might do. But maybe you'll get a hint at some answers to some of these questions. Yeah, you're right, Robert. But I think that I think you're going to see those hitting the market here. You're going to see the beat up flagship bodies first, because I think that there are enough people that are beginning to transition over to with the Z9, that is, and the prosumer camera would help with that as well. But at some point, all this stuff's going to hit the market when people transition over to the mirrorless side. And Vahagan was just talking about the glass and things that he's getting ready to liquidate. I'm doing the same thing, trying to figure out what I'm ready to get rid of. So there are going to be some good deals that hit the market here sooner rather than later. It's just if you're willing to go into the DSLR initially, or do you want to just start out and invest in the mirrorless from Jump Street? And that's a tough decision for somebody to make, but there are a lot of good third-party makers, glass makers out there right now. That's going to continue to increase too, Ike. So, maybe down the road, I know you've played with a few lenses from, I don't know if it was Mikey or whoever, but there are going to be more of those that are going to be added to the list of candidates for those just jumping into mirrorless as well. Let's see. Well, and this is one of the things, Sony acts as if, they're the greatest camera around only because of, not only, but because of their lens selection. Well, they've been in the mirrorless market for 10 years now. So obviously they're going to have a more robust lens lineup. Look at Canon. A lot of people have complained about Canon came into the market with all the heavy hitter, expensive glass for the mirrorless system. So, Nikon and Canon both are definitely playing catch up on lens lineup. Good point, Ike. Man, that 51.8Z is definitely a great lens. But yes, it doesn't fall into the real budget category that you're talking about, Ike. You're absolutely right. But let me ask you this going forward, what's the cost of jumping into Sony right off the bat or jumping into Canon right off the bat? I haven't really researched it enough to give you an intelligent or opinion from me, but jumping to a new system, it's definitely going to cost some money. But I like where Ike's going with this. You're right. If somebody's just talking about getting into photography, then which brand do they go with? Looking at cost. And right now you could say that all are pretty comparable as far as capability, but cost. Ike, when you get out there and talk to that rep, you need to pump him for some information, man. Just see if they're aware of that fact. Of course, they have to be, but just, kind of look at his response when you talk about that. But Ike, again, I ask, man, what's comparable in the Sony lineup or the Canon lineup? I mean, I've got to believe you've got to go used. Even in the mirrorless world, may not be a lot out there, but you've got to go used to really get that price down to. You know what? I think I'm going to jot a note down. That's something I need to do, as if I don't have anything to do. Where it is. I'm going to price that out and find out what a entry level kit would cost. I know there's going to be a variable in it, but I just want to see what's out there with the three big manufacturers. And then, well, no, I'll even include Fuji, because Fuji's been doing okay. Not that I would suggest Fuji, but well, that's a good question, Hassan. I think I'll look at both. I think I'll look at new first, because everybody's going to look for new right off the bat. What's an entry level kit? APS-C and a couple of kit lenses, or a kit lens. It comes with a kit lens, that kind of thing. You know, like the old, excuse me, D5000 or D3000, those series that would come out with one lens and a two lens kit for X number of dollars. I think I'm going to look and see what's available with all three brands. Now, that said, if Ike, and if you agree that it's not a lot cheaper to jump into Sony or Canon, then I think I'll look at, or the point I was going to make is, then Nikon's missing another opportunity here to get the new shooters into a kit where it doesn't necessarily exist with the others. And I don't know that to be the case. So what we're talking about here is, and I say this not derogatorily, but the kid that wants to jump into photography, he doesn't have a lot of money, or the young individual wants to get into photography, doesn't have a lot of money. Which brand provides him an opportunity, or her an opportunity, to jump in with a camera body and at least a lens? And keep it under, well, not keep it under anything. Let's just see what's available. We're not talking about people upgrading what they have. We're not talking about existing shooters or old time shooters or switching brands. Just, I think Ike's point was, as a brand new shooter, and I want to buy my own camera, mirrorless. Let's keep it in the mirrorless world. Mirrorless. What's it going to cost me to get a decent entry level camera and a lens, a kit lens, we'll call it? Who offers the best opportunity for the cheapest price? All right, Ike. So, there's almost $1,000. Well, it is $1,000. Yeah, Hassan, and that's what we're trying to alleviate is, does Nikon offer it so you don't have to push somebody to Olympus or to Fujifilm? I think that's what he's talking about. If you want to invest in Nikon as your first brand, your first investment, and you see where Ike went there for under $1,000. But what exists right now, Mosman? If you had to go buy new, you don't own a camera, you don't own a lens, you want to start shooting, what does Nikon offer and how much is it? What's the most reasonable package? Even if it's just one lens, but a body and one lens, what does it cost? And that's not a bad price, Jeffrey. You know, $700. I think it's what Ike was talking about earlier. Mm. Robert talking about, let's see, Fuji X Pro 3, 2.8, $1,000 secondhand from a friend, then bought new 18, 1.4. Okay. Yeah, I can. That's what I'm talking about too. Is let's just talk. Let's just say new. You know, scrap the idea of going used because there's all kinds of variables there. But for a new shooter just coming in, wants a camera, what's it going to cost him to shoot Nikon versus Sony versus Canon? And it's hard to really say with all the variables and cameras and everything else. But a good, decent starting point in Nikon camera, you know, is it Z50? Is that the cheapest? Then we have to go with the Z50 body and what lens is it offered with a kit and how much is it? And then compare that to what Sony has available new, you know, a body and a lens and Canon as well. So is Nikon missing the boat here by not having those reasonable packages down at the bottom end for entry level photographers? And yes, now that's a good point. I just saw the word vlogging and it passed so quick. But yeah, it has to be able to do that nowadays because most entry level are going to want that possibility, that capability. Uh, yep, Jaspreet. Yeah, it is, Ike. I agree with you. The A6100. Okay, so this goes back to the whole argument about you know, where Nikon is and where they need to be going and everything else. Um, the AF has to extend all the way down into the consumer level bodies because it does in the other brands. And we're not talking about switching though, Albert. We're talking about, you know, the young guy, young lady that everybody's shooting, everybody has cameras around her and she wants to get into it. What's available new from each brand that allows her to get in with, you know, decent capability? We got Ryan up here. All right. Yeah, we got a lot of variables now going on, Ike. And you know what? Bottom line is Nikon does not have yet the most enticing lineup for entry level photographers, because one of the things that's going to kill them is that flippy screen. As much as I don't care for it, Roy, you're talking about stuff that they don't care about, buddy. They're going to be influenced by their friends more than anything else, and price. It doesn't matter how good the color science or anything else is in the camera. If they can't afford it, they can't afford it. So I think that's a good point that I brings up. I don't think Nikon shuts down production and goes, whole hog in that direction just to fix that niche. No, I don't think so. But there needs to be something coming down the road. And again, this needs to be something Nikon is signaling so that new shooters know that Nikon hasn't forgot about them as well. Mosman. Good point, Ike. Yet another thing to put on my list here. Now, what Nikon has to do, though, is they've got to prioritize this. What works best? What comes first? We've identified all the problem segments that Nikon has in the market. You're right, Jaspreet, and I think that's what we're talking about. Oh, yeah, Vahography. But I think, at least I haven't looked for a long time, half the parts they had weren't available. It's been a while since I looked. And a whole lot of them have been discontinued. That goes back into the DSLR segment, though. Because yeah, I started out with the D5000 and with the two kit lenses, the whole package. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't cheap. Now it wasn't cheap. I think it was like $1,200 or something. Of course, at that point in life for me, I was, it wasn't as big a deal. And I got to tell you that little D5000 and the kit lens, 18 to 55, and the whatever it was, 50 to 200 or 7, I don't know what it was. They served me well for a year until I decided, okay, I want more now. But now the problem now is, though, you have to compare what Nikon has available now to what other brands have available, because, and I know because I've talked to a few of these younger folks, you can't just start preaching all the benefits of color science and, things. Roy, I agree with you, but they don't want to hear that, especially when they've got, $800, $900 burning a hole in their pocket and they want a camera and a lens. They are, Roy. Smartphones are. They've taken the point and shoot away, period. That's gone. But an ILC, interchangeable lens camera, for the serious person that wants to, dip their toe in the water of photography. Yes. Well, when I agree with you and they don't care about brand, they do to some extent because they have their friends pushing them to Sony. And I mean, that is 90% of the young generation out there are being fed Sony, 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 Sony. Now, not to mind that, I mean, Sony does offer, a decent entry level package, no doubt about it. And others are being, they've seen Canon and heard Canon, but Nikon has no mention in it. If Nikon doesn't have a competitor, I mean, a model to compete, then there isn't going to be any mention of Nikon. Does that make sense? Yeah, the only thing Sony and Canon have going, well, not the only thing. The only thing Canon has going for them is name recognition. Sony as well. Nikon doesn't have that right now. Nikon needs a strong suit in that level, that camera body level and lens level to be able to entice people to look at Nikon. So none of the influencer, nobody's going to mention Nikon because we don't really have a good fit. Now, okay, so guys, and maybe I'm looking at this through jaded eyes. I'm looking at it through US only eyes, okay? Here in the US. I don't know what best fits wherever you may be. And you probably have some very valid points to shoot down our argument here. But here in the US, I mean, I'm speaking from just like Ike's talking about, and he talks about when he first started, what can he get into relatively cheap and still have a decent camera, decent kit. Yeah, I think that's it, Jeffrey. That's exactly what Ike was talking about. Is without going into the DSLR market on the mirrorless side, Nikon has little to entice a new shooter into ILC camera system. You're absolutely right, Mosman, and that's what we're talking about. We can't get on the radar without the equipment. I mean, that's an absolute. Nikon can't get in the conversation, just like that uh, article that Breyer found, who he did respond to the editor of that site, um, where Nikon doesn't get even the slightest mention. The word Nikon, the name Nikon, doesn't appear in the article anywhere. And if we want to start fighting that and questioning these people, then Nikon's got to provide the ammunition to do that. The Z9 should have been mentioned. I mean, you're talking the best mirrorless cameras for 2022. Some of them I would consider best. But anyway, just the fact that Nikon got no mention. That's something that's been thrown around for a long time, Hassan, that they only want us to get in and go into full frame. I think every manufacturer would like people to be, transition into full frame, no doubt about it. But I think that's a cop out to use that. You know what? I don't know Vahography. I'll ask Breyer. He did, like I said, well, hang on a second. Let me see. I might have it actually. Do, 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 do. Hmm. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, here we go. It's on pocketlent.com, and I'll drop it in the comments over there. I'm looking elsewhere to get this information. Best mirrorless cameras in 2022. All right. Obviously, no space after the dot, but yeah, there may be people that never ever go beyond APS-C because they're happy. They want a good camera. They're not looking at becoming a professional photographer or anything like that. And APS-C is fine for them. And that's what Ike was saying too is what do we have in the APS-C lens lineup? And a lot of people have been asking that question with the roadmap. Yeah, of course, Sony has a huge selection because they've been having people build their lenses for the last 10 years. Um, there's a fine line in the balance of how much DX does Nikon produce versus how much, full frame. And just like you said, yes, they want everybody to go into full frame at some point and to buy bodies and lenses. But you have to have enough inventory down there in the APS-C category to entice them in and to support those that aren't going to ever move to full frame. So, what is that happy blend of APS-C versus full frame lenses? No, you're right, Robert. But in the Nikon camp, you're right. But in the Nikon camp, what are we talking about here? Because Nikon shooters that are DX shooters or APS-C shooters have, since the roadmap was first made available, discussed and complained that there wasn't enough DX support on it. All right, Vaughan, go out and enjoy your walk, brother. Yeah, Hassan, you're absolutely right. Now that you get into this, in a big corporation like that, looking at, what brings you business, and that's the entry level and everybody else. How much effort do you put into that side versus your base, the people that are part of your brand and, have been shooting it forever and want absolute professional level glass and bodies. How do you balance that? And, you know, I just brought up the fact that, and I hadn't even considered it, that Nikon doesn't have a lot for those new photographers that are looking at brands and deciding which brand they're going to go into. And you have to have a good entry level that's reasonably priced so that they consider it. And once they're in, you hope that they stay in the brand. But when I say reasonably priced is those that think they might want to move into photography as a profession or a, you know, whatever, they need something decent to keep them in that camp, and it has to be reasonably priced. They're probably looking at it to augment their income to begin with. And we can argue all day long or discuss all day long that we can argue all day long about, well, you know, they're not going professional. They're not earning money with entry-level equipment. While that may be true to some extent, I bet you there's some out there that would show you that that isn't the case. Anyway, a long thread. Okay. The first one's free. Oh, all right. Let's see what we got here. And that's surprising. Curious to know why. I know you're going to drop another segment of this. Well, you know, somebody brought up earlier the possibility of the Z30 and, you know, and a couple of decent lenses, you know, in the APS-C, decently priced as well in the APS-C segment, may be all that they need along with what they have right now. Yeah, good point. I can know where you're going with this. You're absolutely right, which is why I said I've been looking at it the wrong way just from a U.S. perspective. And it is a world market. Yes. And you're right, Robert. I'll tell you right now, Fuji's done some incredible things over the last few years, and a lot of people have gone over to Fuji or started with Fuji. I have a friend that did. So you're absolutely right. And then now, Ike, you're back to my point about Nikon has to concentrate on the younger generation because once you bring them into the camp, they're not as likely to leave. But if you don't concentrate on them, it's almost impossible to get people to transition from one brand to another. So you've lost them for life. You want to catch them in the beginning rather than trying to bring them back, or not back, but bring them to Nikon later. Now, we're only talking about marketing for Nikon. Look, I have nothing against, I've said it before. Sony makes some great cameras, and they've had some great glass makers as well, and Canon as well. So I don't think you've heard us say that, Canon and Sony are crap, so buy Nikon. No, we're sitting here talking about how Nikon needs to improve to compete with Sony and Canon. For us old timers, we can look at a lot of things and say, well, this is why Nikon's better. But it's because we've been shooting Nikon and we do different things with the cameras than anybody that hasn't shot before understands. And that old logic that we use to try to convince them just goes in one ear and out the other. You have to offer them products to get them to see what Nikon can do. So, not trying to kill Sony or Canon. Now, we haven't solved anything for Nikon or anybody else today, but you know what? It got me thinking about a lot of different things. And I hope it did for you guys as well. You're right, Jeffrey. And, we talked about that a little while ago, not today, but in other streams. And the only thing we have going for us is Best Buy. This is the cameras that we're talking about, those that would be on display at Best Buy. And hopefully they have a selection of the Canon, Sony, and Nikon. But if somebody were to ask me which brand to go with, I would say borrow, or here, try my camera, hold it. Or find somebody with a Sony and hold it. Find somebody with a Canon and hold it. Or go somewhere where all three of those exist. Pick those cameras up and see which one speaks to you, because one will, or you'll be torn between one and one other, whatever. But the point is that let that be your decision, because this is something you plan to live with for a good while. Yeah, Nikon did have and that's what Robert Magnuson brought up to me. Go back to the 3000, 5000, 7000 series. Ross Perot. Yeah, there would be everybody would be at Nikon headquarters with pitchforks and torches, Mosman. So yeah, I don't say Nikon needs to do that. I think Nikon needs to consider this and definitely begin to phase this in with a little more emphasis on APS-C lenses. And I don't think this is their absolute first move. You got to show people what they're going to aspire to before you say, hey, buy into my brand. Well, where is Nikon? What do they have to offer, and up at the other levels? Well, let's get that filled out, and then let's get the entry level stuff, make it a little bit more robust. It is nice to have a big selection of gear. One thing that it does is, you're talking about brands and everything else. The one thing that it does is it prompts each of the brands to continue to move forward. That's a good point, Roy. And I think that you're kind of making the point, which is what may hurt them in the long run. Oh, James, you're going to be waiting for a while for that battery to charge. I was fortunate to have two ENEL 18s here waiting for the camera to show up. So had them all charged and ready to go. And you're right, because I think this battery came more depleted on charge than any camera I have bought from Nikon. The others came with at least enough to play with it for a few minutes. But I think this battery was almost dead. Ike, I know what you're saying, but I kind of go along with, as you get into this, I think that you want to continue to progress with your camera upgrades and lens upgrades. Doesn't mean you can and you can do it quickly, but I think everybody's looking at, that's a signature of the innovation of the brand, too. I mean, Olympus, look where they're at. They got looks like a nice camera coming out here real soon, but they're on a 5-year at best upgrade. So yeah, there's probably a lot of discussion that could take place just over that subject as well. That was Vahagen's video he dropped last night or this morning or whatever, talking to Omar about Nikon. He's picked up Nikon and Nikon Z6 or Z6 II. He's been playing with it. He likes this, that, whatever. But he was on the Fuji. He still is. Still shooting professionally with Fuji. But now he's looking at Nikon as well. I don't know why. I need to go back and watch the whole thing, the interview over again. GFX 75S. Not familiar with it, Ike. Jeffrey, you bring up another good point, another variable to the discussion. And you're absolutely right, because there are a lot of kids out there that mom and dad will buy them, fund them, whatever they want. When I say a lot, there are a lot, but there's still a huge segment of folks, young adults and whatever, that are going to be looking for those or for purchase in a reasonably priced area. Wow, Jay, man, prepaid that far back. No, I haven't, as a matter of fact. And, I kind of rely on a few sources to look at the trend, but there hasn't been a lot of discussion about deliveries for the last week. I just now, it just dawned on me that I haven't heard about a lot of cameras being delivered over the last week. And I think it's still pretty quiet in Europe. All right. All right, Ike, man. You had me going there. I don't follow the brand enough to know. So, I got to be honest and just be ignorant. No, Fuji's done well over, I mean, what, the last actually 6 or 8 years, or no, more than that, 7 to 10 years. Fuji has a little comfortable niche in the market, no doubt about it. Oh. Yeah, the U.S. got the majority share of the shipments early on, no doubt about it. And Europe was complaining about it as well. But 2 weeks ago, there were some reports in some of the forums that there were people that were receiving their cameras in Europe. Not a lot, but it was definitely an uptick in some of the deliveries. And even some that weren't NPS members, or quite a few actually. But I haven't heard anything this week, and I just realized I hadn't heard anything. I hadn't seen anything in any of the threads, nothing significant. But James just got his today. So maybe there's another trickle of cameras that have come in. I can't believe if you pre-ordered and paid all the way back in October that you haven't heard anything yet about your camera. Hey, Ike, you know what makes Fuji so successful, right? Oh, everybody raves about the color science of Fuji as well. And I've got to admit, they've done a great job. Just Hassan, that just goes back to Nikon's got to build it's not build its reputation up. The reputation is impeccable, but within the influencer realm of YouTube, Nikon's just going to have to keep fighting to push all those folks out of the way. Well, like I said, I had a friend that shot Fuji, a guy I used to work with out in Salt Lake City, and I could never criticize the color science of that camera. It was fantastic. Hey, folks, I hate to pull the plug, but we're almost to the 3 hour mark. And before we hit it, I've got to get out of here. I got to get a couple of things done. Mama lets me get away with a lot, but she expects my chores to get done, if you will. So I'm going to have to get out of here. Love the conversation. Love the conversation today. I hope nobody takes any hard feelings or anything any of us have said. Just a spirited, passionate debate on cameras and where Nikon should be heading. And I take away a lot from the conversation. Changes a few things that I was thinking about, but I'll stand firm on my Z8 this year. It's going to happen. And that's just the way it is. I think Nikon knows that too. But on the other end of the spectrum, Ike drops a bomb on us with the entry level, and I agree with that. And then we get into Fuji, which I have no problem with Fuji. I'm not buying a Fuji. I almost did once when I was traveling overseas so much to have a small camera to carry with me. But then again, this was before I actually bought into Nikon too. So, but yeah, if I had to pick one just for the color or the feel of the photo between Canon and Sony, I know it sounds crazy, but I'd probably look at Fuji because I just like the look of the photos. So, but a lot of good information, a lot of things to think about, a lot of good points by everybody. And the nice thing is we got through it without throwing crap at each other, and that's kind of hard to do nowadays. But you guys need to just continue to come back. I love these discussions, and I hope you enjoy them too. For those that came by today, I hope you dropped a like before you got out. So if you hear this later, and I'm really trying to, I don't want to get into that sappy build the channel. I want to hit the 500 subscriber mark because it comes with a few things that I can do on the channel. So anyway, if you're so compelled, do it. If not, that's fine too, but still come back and join us for the conversations. We always have a good time. Ike, thanks so much for dropping in and spending so much time with us. Robert, good to see you. Hassan, yep, color science. I agree. It is good. Jeffrey, always. Jeffrey's becoming our tech guy because he's that kind of guy. No offense, Jeffrey. It's a good thing. Mosman, Roy, you guys are always in here. Ray, good to see you. Charles, I'm just looking through the list of everybody. Good. Who else? I can't name all of you, but again, Jay, thanks for dropping in. See you guys Saturday night. I don't know if I'm going to have a guest yet or not, but I'm pretty sure I'll have somebody. Still talking to John from Frame Voyager, and he may come back as a guest with his sound guy or the sound guy he knows, and who couldn't use a little more knowledge of audio. Man, I know I can. If not, I know that Stu Blue wanted to come back in and join us for a stream. Still waiting on Ike. He's too busy, but it's okay as long as he drops by and drops comments in here. Vahagan wants to do something, so I don't know. Maybe we'll get Vahagan together, or either me with him with me. I don't know. And any of you guys that want to come in as a guest, just send me an email, and we'll chat about it. So with that said, again, thanks for everybody coming by. Always enjoy it. Hate to cut the chat on you, but it's just time for me to go. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the week and can't wait to see you Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. All right, folks, I'm out.